Everyone believed that, following family ties, Justine Bateman would become the next big star. Rather, she spent years out of sight in Hollywood. It had nothing to do with drugs or controversy. There was something more darker about it. She couldn't accept the deal her agents made her. For the sake of continuing to work, they wanted her to remove a piece of herself. She had a meeting with surgeons. She thought about it. Then she turned and left everything behind. Her revelations regarding that 2021 choice sparked a movement that continues to influence Hollywood today. Rye, New York, was the birthplace of Justine Bateman on February 19, 1966. Victoria, her mother, was a Pan Am flight attendant once. Since she was raised in England after being born in Malta, the house had a little British vibe. Ken Bateman, her father, had a strong career in acting. Actors, scripts, and discussions about show business were constantly present in their home because he was both a theatrical manager and an acting coach. This was not your typical childhood. Justine was just 2 years old when she began to hear people practicing lines and observe auditions taking place in her living room. Jason, her younger brother, was born 4 years later and would soon follow in her footsteps. Hollywood would subsequently refer to them as a unique sibling duo, both illuminating the same space and influenced by the same frantic, aspirational spirit. Justine had already experienced several farewells by the time she reached 4 years old. As her father's business grew, the family continued to move. After a period of time spent in Salt Lake City, they moved across California. She attended 5 different primary schools across 3 states before she was even 12, which is more than most individuals do in a lifetime. She was affected by the constant movement. In order to blend in wherever they ended up, she had to quickly learn about people. However, such talent belied a youngster who never felt accepted. She had to constantly transform herself in order to live. And later on, the urge to adjust would develop into perfectionism and a strong will to maintain power. Home life was even more stressful than school. Her father advocated rigorous training. He established daily routines for Justine and Jason by the time she was 8 years old. Not household tasks or assignments, but networking events, voice practice, and script reading. Cartoons and school plays were not topics of conversation over supper. They included acting methods and professional advancement. What, moreover, made it worse was that Kent maintained written documentation. In fact, he would give them ratings for confidence and looks, which he would then discuss with agencies. He also timed their mock auditions so he could compare them. Jason was only 10 when he landed his first major part on Little House on the Prairie. For Justine, that set a higher standard. She was already burdened with expectations at the age of 12. That was where the anxiety began. She could not afford to make a mistake. She felt as though she had to pass a test with every step. Attending a public school didn't help either. Although most famous children had private tutors, her parents believed that attending regular school would keep things grounded. Rather, it only made things more difficult for her. Her teachers gave her different treatment. Other pupils made fun of her. It was said that her parents were not real. As far as others were concerned, the family was merely acting naturally. She didn't attend sleepovers or birthday parties because parents didn't want their children to be too close to celebrities. Children ridiculed her in 4th grade by playing a cruel game they called Hollywood Justine. She would try out for school plays, and they would laugh and imitate her. Although she was able to maintain her composure on the outside, she felt as though she was never accepted. She carried that sentiment with her throughout adulthood. Even in social situations years later, she frequently felt as though she was merely acting. The family finally moved to Los Angeles when she reached 13. They chose the San Fernando Valley in order to be near events and auditions. In order to avoid wasting time, her father realized that both of his children were getting close to being the ideal age for teen TV parts. Justine joined with Jason's agency within 6 months. Industry insiders referred to it as a sibling package deal. Their chances of negotiating were improved by that agreement. Justine had thrown herself into the game now. In her first 18 months in Los Angeles, she attended more than 150 auditions. It is still a startling number. Her dad followed each one of them. He took notes on the other actresses, what the casting directors said, and what Justine needed to work on. They turned their Woodland Hills home into a sort of workshop. Despite the fact that Justine was already a working actor, she was required to attend all of the acting classes that were conducted out of their living room. In 1981, when she was 15, she secured her first paid position. It was her debut, even though it was only a commercial. People were unaware of how difficult things were behind the scenes. For young actors, California had stringent regulations. In order to continue working, she needed to maintain her grades. This implied that she was constantly in a hurry, hurrying back to class after filming a commercial. It would have been exhausting for most folks, but Justine accepted it as normal. Every hour was important. She developed excellent time management skills, studying and auditioning at the same time. She didn't ask for the strain, but it strengthened her. In Woodland Hills, she attended Taft High School. Her skill was well known, particularly in drama class, but she was deprived of the opportunity to experience the joys of a typical adolescence. She was on set or going to auditions when other students were attending football games or prom. Although her natural stage presence was praised by her teacher, the majority of her classmates hardly saw her. In pursuit of something greater, she sacrificed weekends and parties. She was making important career decisions by the time she was 15 years old. Her later perception of fame and what it meant to grow up in the spotlight would be influenced by that early sacrifice. Despite her brilliance, the journey wasn't simple. She experienced rejection after rejection from 1980 until 1981. She failed to get the parts despite trying out for multiple TV pilots. Hollywood is capable of such cruelty. Not all of it was about skill. Occasionally, casting directors would comment that she was too tall, or just not the type of hair they desired, or the incorrect hue. It broke my heart. It wasn't simply her dream that caused each no. The family's income also decreased, but every setback strengthened her resolve. When she eventually secured big jobs and had to continue to advance in a field that might suddenly become unfriendly, these rejection lessons would be helpful. In 1981, she was eventually cast in a small role on Little House on the Prairie, the same program on which her brother Jason had already established himself. Jason had a regular part even though he was just 12. The elder Justine was still having trouble making an impression. Working on the show, however, offered her practical experience. Saying lines wasn't the only thing involved. It involved knowing how to behave in a certain way, comprehending the mannerisms and speech of the time, and showing respect for every small detail. She paid great attention to seasoned celebrities like Michael Landon. She learned how to act on set, adapt to new directors, and quickly memorize texts. Her breakthrough role on Family Tie was the result of all of that preparation. At the age of 16, Justine Bateman was cast as Mallory Keaton on NBC's Family Tie in 1982. Initially, Mallory was expected to be intelligent. The authors wrote her in this manner. People laughed harder during the early test runs, though, when Justine pretended that Mallory didn't know much. When the network realized this, they took an unexpected action. She was completely rewritten to become the stereotypical blonde dumb type. Mallory became well-liked, it generated laughter, and it forced Justine into a part she didn't want to play. For years, she played that version of Mallory. The peculiar thing was that Justine was exceptionally intelligent in real life. Later on, she even earned a degree in computer science from UCLA. But only the ridiculous version was shown to the public at the time. Family Ties rose to prominence as one of the most popular television series by 1984. After 2 years of neglect, it rose to the 5th position in the nation. There was a lot of chemistry between Michael J. Fox and Justine on film. Together, their scenes attracted millions of spectators. She began to get paid $10,000 for each show. She starred in almost 170 episodes across 7 seasons. Things weren't as bright behind the scenes, though. The show continued to follow the same plot lines. Alex, played by Michael, was prone to making mistakes and then apologizing. The formula was that. That wasn't all Justine wanted. For Mallory, she desired more complex and poignant tales. But it never materialized. Justine's role became less important as the show's attention turned to Michael J. Fox and his character's ascent. Originally a fair-minded family drama, the show gradually evolved into The Alex Show. Even Meredith Baxter and Michael Gross's parents had less to do. The same humor became the focus of Justine's part. Boyfriends, shopping, and ignorance. She was annoyed. She was unable to push herself because of the scripts. The tension persisted despite the cast's enjoyment of themselves on set as they joked and played with water cannons. Nor was Meredith Baxter pleased. She believed her role had also been diminished. And Justine felt stuck while Michael J. Fox's film career took off. The Young Artist Award for Best Young Actress in a Comedy Series went to Justine in December 1983. Her brother Jason Bateman and River Phoenix hosted the awards ceremony. Though that was the beginning of something darker, she grinned. Fame was a shock. Everywhere she went, paparazzi trailed her. Teen mags continued to cover her. Despite only being a teenager, everyone was observing her every action. She later claimed that she was unhappy since she had no privacy. Her feeling of normalcy was not preserved by her accolades. She was simultaneously miserable and gaining fame. Over 20 million people watched Family Ties every week by 1984. Despite being well known, Justine's world was becoming smaller. She was often approached by strangers. She was not allowed to go out like other girls. Her freedom was gone. Despite receiving accolades for her work and an Emmy nomination, she felt as like something was shattering within of her. The future didn't seem promising when she began to think about it. Justine continued to appear throughout 1985 to 1987, even though the show remained at the top. All 176 episodes were filmed by her. But a change was taking place. She made a significant move in 1986. She directed a show episode when she was barely 20. It was uncommon, particularly for a Hollywood young lady. That brief moment offered her a preview of what she would experience when making decisions behind the camera in the future. In 1986 and 1987, she received 2 Emmy nominations as well. Over 30 million people watched her directorial episode when it aired. Despite her achievements, she was carrying a secret ache, though. Anorexia, bulimia, overeating, and other eating problems had been Justine's quiet battle since she was 16 years old. She was being destroyed on the inside by the pressure to be flawless. Sometimes, in between acts, she would dash off set to get herself sick. The periodicals analyzed her weight. Her body was criticized by others. She used to say she had a terrible body image. Feeling lightheaded from not eating, she was filming scenes. The world continued to perceive her as Happy Mallory. Despite her struggles, she made wise decisions. Saint Elsewhere and other serious shows featured her in 1986. The same show featured her brother Jason. She may have acted in films. Offers of $2 or $3 million are big money. She remained faithful to her family, nonetheless. She even created teen education videos. She wanted to demonstrate that she was more than just a celebrity. These somber parts demonstrated her versatility beyond comedy. The majority of Hollywood, however, were unaware. She was nominated for another Emmy in 1987, but Estelle Getty from The Golden Girl defeated her. Many believe she ought to have prevailed. At just 21, she had received 2 nominations for the same position. However, the Emmys hardly ever gave young actresses any credit. Sitcoms were viewed as simple. Despite being adored by the audience, she left empty-handed because critics claimed comedy wasn't true acting. What followed was nearly inhumane. Justine wanted to go to college, same like her character Mallory was in the last seasons. Her college application was submitted. When she was prepared to study, Paramount Studios intervened. No, they said, she was bound by a contract. She had to continue shooting. The genuine girl portraying the character was not permitted to develop and learn in real life, but the character did on film. It was devastating, according to Justine. A spectacular climax marked the end of Family Ties in 1989. The final episode was viewed by more than 36 million people. It became the ninth most watched TV series finale ever. Justine's farewell performance was powerful. The truth hit her hard the following day, despite the adoration from her fans. She wasn't working. After completing the most significant role of her life, casting directors now only saw Mallory. Her jail was that one role. She feared that no one would ever offer her another opportunity. She attempted to make all the changes in 1990. Taking a chance, she starred in the dark thriller The Fatal Image, which was shot in Paris. In her role, she portrayed a woman who witnesses a murder and finds herself in peril. It was not Mallory at all. She wished for a different perception of herself. Critics, however, claimed they could still see traces of Mallory in her even at that time. The film's performance was poor. The viewers were unable to let go of the previous vision. Then things became worse. Despite attending auditions, she was only seen by Mallory Keaton. Her skill level was irrelevant to casting directors. They called her the stupid sister. Project after project slipped away. She tried out for shows for an entire year, but none of them were produced. Nobody seems to believe in her anymore. She had been too good at it. That's what Hollywood believed she was. Justine Bateman portrayed Marty Hiller, a medical student, in the television thriller Deadbolt in October 1992. She allows a man to live with her in the novel, despite being aware of his dangers. He gradually gains complete control over her life, including shutting her in the flat. It was even more eerie because it seemed so similar to Justine's actual existence. Her celebrity sprang from her family, but it had turned into a trap. Hollywood continued to cast her in the same roles, scared women, victims, and defenseless characters, and she felt trapped, as if she was unable to express herself beyond the expectations of others. She then made a change in September 1996 by joining Men Behaving Badly, a sitcom. One of the main protagonist's girlfriends, Sarah, was portrayed by her. Initially, it appeared hopeful. Although around 15 million people saw the first episode, it was a complete disaster behind the scenes. There were conflicts over money and competing personalities. By 1997, both Justine and her co-star had left by the conclusion of the first season. The program was cancelled by the end of the same year, having barely survived to a second season. She continued to attempt to break free from the shadow of her former prominence, but another door had closed. Even worse was what happened afterward. Her agents revealed something startling to her in the mid-1990s. They advised that she must get plastic surgery if she wished to continue working. Her natural aging was something Hollywood didn't want. Looks old was the top result when she Googled herself. It broke her heart. She began to wonder if they were correct. Perhaps she did need to improve her appearance. However, something felt off in the back of my mind. She gave it some serious thinking and even went to see 3 different Beverly Hills surgeons. Ultimately, though, she left. She discussed this incident in her 2021 book Face, 1 Square Foot of Skin, claiming that it was unfair to make women feel damaged simply because they were growing older. It transformed her. Refusing to remain silent while others were instructed to erase themselves, she began to speak up. Acting offers were all but eliminated by 1999. Justine was tired of waiting around. She took charge by using her family's savings. She began to direct. It was not simple. Hoping someone would take an interest, she was investing her own money. 5 Minutes, her short film, debuted at the Toronto International Film Festival in 2017 and then at Tribeca in 2018. In just 10 minutes, it conveyed a lot of information regarding social friction and human behavior. She saw directing as a means of survival rather than glory. She would create her own opportunity if no one else would. Then a startling event occurred. The couple was married in January 2001 to Mark Fluent. He was neither a singer nor an actor. He managed massive properties for Deutsche Bank as a real estate manager. They reconnected during one of Justine's most trying periods after having first met in high school. He earned more than half a million annually, was kind, and was stable. She was able to distance herself from Hollywood's lunacy because of her financial stability. She was free to skip the red carpet and every audition. All she needed to do was breathe. It was the first time she wasn't living for the cameras. She was living for herself. Their son, Duke, was born in June 2002. He also made a decision that everyone was taken aback by. Justine rejected offers totaling millions of dollars between 2002 and 2004. She didn't want her child to grow up amid the same kind of attention that almost destroyed her. She didn't want it for him because she understood what it was like to be famous as a teenager. So she moved out of the path. She rejected every offer for 2 whole years, stayed at home, avoided interviews, and kept her family away from the business. This was the first significant break in her long career, which began in 1982. Although many believed her career was finished, she saw it as a fresh start. Johnetta, her daughter, was born in January 2004 after 2 years. But rather than being happy, Justine experienced severe postpartum depression. She had scarcely known herself after 8 long months. She gained 40 pounds, experienced sleep problems, and experienced panic attacks that prevented her from leaving her home. Meanwhile, Justine Bateman, her brother, was making a tremendous comeback with Arrested Development. Justine was trapped in quiet, attempting to escape the shadows while he was receiving accolades and recognition. Medication and therapy were helpful, but it was impossible to overlook the unpleasant contrast between their lifestyles at the time. Nobody anticipated the event that occurred in 2012. At one point, Justine Bateman, the young star of Family Ties, entered a UCLA classroom. She was 46 years old. The majority of the teens in her immediate vicinity were just beginning their lives. However, Justine wasn't there for fun or attention. She enrolled in a challenging degree program in digital media and computer science. Her explanation was straightforward. She desired to demonstrate her ability to perform a novel and difficult task. Something that nobody believed she could. She played Mallory Keaton in the 1980s, and Paramount had explicitly instructed her that she was not permitted to attend college. She didn't go, they replied, because you're under contract. However, she returned to complete the task she had been prevented from accomplishing all these years before. It was not simple. She battled learning disabilities and had to deal with students who treated her as though she didn't belong. She attended classes with children half her age. Justine was recreating her life at the same time as they were just starting off. Meanwhile, she continued to work in television and movies. But she came every day to study coding, take tests, and create something new. She earned a legitimate computer science degree in 2016 at the age of 50 after 4 years of arduous work. Many were silent at that moment. In 2013, a year after she had begun attending school, she made an appearance in a Modern Family episode. It might have resulted in additional roles, greater income, and more of the same. However, she declined, stating that she desired an alternative. She didn't wish to live her entire life as Mallory Keaton. She continued acting at night. But during the day, she was developing apps, creating scripts, and even working as an intern in software engineering at Symantec. She was rebuffing acting offers that no longer seemed right while simultaneously learning how to create things with Python and SQL. She was foregoing fame in favor of independence. In 2015, she started something much more ambitious. She founded Section 5, a production firm of her own. It was more than just a location for filmmaking, though. She used what she had learned to combine art and technology in this way. She began producing avant-garde short films such as Push, 5 Minutes, and Z. A later screening of 5 Minutes took place in 2017 at the Toronto International Film Festival. It was only the beginning. Violet, her debut full-length feature film, debuted at South by Southwest in 2021. Included Luke Bracey, Justin Theroux, and Olivia Munn. But it was more than a film. It was a very intimate experience. The narrative focused on worry, fear, and the silent voice in your head that tells you that you're not good enough. When the script was rejected by studios for being too female-led, Justine, who had written it in 2011, had to fight for 18 months to raise money. She persevered. People came to watch it, and she managed to get it made nevertheless. She published a book titled Fame, A Hijacking of Reality in 2018. It wasn't a happy tale. It was unvarnished and honest. She talked about panic attacks, identity loss, and the peculiar way that being famous can make you feel invisible, even while everyone is looking. There was no rumor involved. The truth was at issue. According to her, being famous takes from you but never returns. It was regarded by critics as one of the most truthful books ever penned by a former child star. It was described as highly quotable by Mary Louise Parker. Something even more intimate followed. When she Googled her own name in 2021, a proposal came to her. Justine Bateman appears elderly. It stung when it first happened, and she was 42. It was the beginning of something significant. She chose to write a second book, Face, 1 Square Foot of Skin, rather than go into hiding. She spoke with around 50 women about shame, beauty, and aging. And she said to the world that, despite the fact that some people didn't understand, she would not do anything to her face. I looked in the mirror and I didn't see what the internet saw, she claimed. Strength was apparent to her. The book changed the way people thought about beauty and became a big success. She startled everyone when she made a statement on 60 Minutes Australia in 2023. I simply don't care, I think I look awesome. She mentioned that she had previously contemplated surgery. She had considered having her eyelids done. She thought about getting a lower facelift, but ultimately she didn't. She would lose her authority if she changed her face, she remarked. That incident became viral. While some criticized her and others praised her for her bravery, she remained unflinching. Her speech became emotion. In addition to aging gracefully, she was standing up for any women who have ever felt under pressure to appear younger in order to feel deserving. That was not the end of her work. After earning her degree in technology, she was now utilizing it to combat artificial intelligence. Credo 23, a nonprofit she created in 2023, called for filmmaking free of artificial intelligence. She thought that Hollywood's true art would be destroyed by AI. She turned up on the picket lines during the Hollywood strikes. She made it clear to SAG-AFTRA that artificial intelligence poses risks to everyone who works behind the scenes, not just performers. Even the Credo 23 Film Festival, which forbids AI-generated content, was founded by her. She was taking the lead in the battle, not merely talking. But this battle was about more than simply the future, it was about her history as well. Her 2017 short film 5 Minutes demonstrated her directing abilities and garnered praise from critics. The momentum she needed to eventually bring Violet to life came from that movie and another called Push. Short films served as evidence that she could deliver, and she had rebuilt her career from the ground up. She fulfilled all of her commitments, and investors trusted her. Her patience was worn thin by November 2024. For Fast Company, she penned an impactful essay that spoke to what others were afraid to. Hollywood is dead, she said. She claimed that AI and streaming had ruined it. That blockbusters worth billions of dollars were the only concerns of studios. The money had come at the expense of that storytelling. Then she went much farther at the RAP's 2025 conference. She cautioned that entire departments would be replaced by AI. According to her, it could even take the place of the performers. Furthermore, nobody could claim she was ignorant of the subject. The degree, the experience, and the guts to call it out were all in her favor. Justine Bateman is now 59 years old and represents something far greater than acting. Truth is what she represents. She is a symbol of authentic aging. She represents the strength of a fresh start. She claims that every crease on her face demonstrates her resolve, imagination, and life. Her appearance and youth are no longer factors when she enters a room. The idea is to declare, "This is who I am. No, I'm not leaving." And in spite of everything, she's only beginning.